Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm standing in front of experts, not being an expert of your space, trying to convince you that, I have something that you all have to be convinced about. So that is going to be the next 15 minutes. And by the way, at the end of the 15 minutes, you will all be convinced. So with that, I'll begin. So today, whatever I'm going to talk about is my little knowledge of your domain with a lot of knowledge that I've acquired over the last few months, added together and brought together. So the title is something that I figured out only in the morning at 11 o'clock, and that is what you're seeing here. From molecules to machines, what is going to happen in the next 4 to 5 years in the space of manufacturing, in the convergence of life sciences? That is going to be the agenda for the next 10-15 minutes. So let's begin with what is in the landscape. So let's start by understanding two important advancements coming or have already come in the market space, especially to be impacted in the life sciences area. The first one is a recent Google's announcement. This is only 2 weeks ago news. I don't know how many of you have come across this. Anyone? Awesome, that makes it much more interesting. So Google has a model, an open source model ecosystem called Gemma. So using Gemma, they started experimenting multiple use cases just with this LLM called Gemma. Now, one interesting experiment that they did is all about what you're seeing here. This is called C2S scale. That's a model name. You don't need to know that. It's okay. Let's understand what it does. So they took the data of all the research published from clinical trials to molecular research of interactions of every kind of cell with all kinds of molecules in the drug industry. They took all the data. They fed this data. By the way, this data could be in the form of numbers, could be formed in words, etc., etc. So they first converted the data into sentences. So cell to sentence comes from there. So all the cellular data is converted to sentences. Now, once it is converted to sentences, it's much easier for an LLM to understand and play from there on. So that's how they use the Gemma LLM to play with this. Now, what did it do? Why are we so much talking about this? The entire world is talking about this for the last 2 weeks now. So it did something very interesting. It did not create anything new. It did not invent anything new. But it did something that a human would take otherwise 10 years, 20 years, or even 100 years. We never know. But that model, in a span of a week, could solve that problem without wasting so much time, which humans might or might not solve. So what did it do? So there was research on myeloma and kidney cancers. They wanted to understand how a particular drug's efficacy could be improved. So they were looking at all the possibilities, and somehow they also founded upon this particular model. So they gave all the data, the cell structure, the actual compound that is being used, and they wanted it to be more effective. You know what it did? It went through all the cellular interactions that have happened in the database that it has got, and it figured out there is one drug which is also in trials for something else altogether, nothing to do with this problem, which, if introduced into this ecosystem, will help our immune system to target the early cancer cells. And that drug will do the targeting part and kill it. So this compound would otherwise be no one be thinking about such a use case for this compound. The AI figured out that this compound's interaction has always found that way to point, here is the cancer cell coming up, and that helped them solve the problem. And by the way, they have actually tested this too in the lab, and physically it worked. So this is where the medical research is going from a LLM standpoint. By the way, it is so tough for me to pronounce that compound, so I put it in the red there. I don't know if some of you could relate to that particular compound. Now, so this is not past, this is current. This is not future, this is current. Now let's look about what is near future. There is if you are on internet, you can also search this. There's a website called character.ai. So today, in the world of products and software and startups, what we do is we need to have every product tested by all kinds of people so that we know how people perceive that product, so that we can fine-tune it for the best experience. Customer support, etc., everything else. So there, an interesting tool called character.ai has been leveraged. It was never built for that purpose. It is more like chatbot with different personas, that's it. But people realized, if this chatbot has got different human personas, why can't I use this as a testing bot for me to test different human personas on my product? That's how they started using it. Now, believe me, there are companies working on an exact similar model for trials or pre-human trials as well. Can we create that human characteristics with gene behavior and the cellular behavior and the diseases and efficacies and everything else into that bot, into those personas? And can we use them as the first level preclinical trial experience? So this is how the world of life sciences is going to be impacted, especially with AI. And this is nothing future, it is all happening as we speak. By the way, the Gemma model is already open sourced, so if you want to try, in research communities, they have given it as an open source platform. You can go to huggingface.com, and that's where you'll find all these models. So that is part one. Now, anyway, since I've discussed that, I'll add one more point there. Recently, I've started my journey towards anti-aging and longevity. So, again, I was too heavy back in the day. In January, I was 105, and now you see me how I am. My pants do not fit me anymore, in a good way. So now, the journey happened, but in this journey, I had so many questions, so many aspects of understanding my own nutrition, my own supplementation. At some point, I was taking 35 supplements a day. All good ones, by the way. So I was never taking any, I was so afraid of taking any supplement in the past, but now I do that. So all this transformation happened with the support of AI. So there's a Stanford model, bunch of models, by the way. So on huggingface.com, it's a simple model trained with every possible data set of clinical prescriptions. We took that. I myself have built a bot and started playing with it. And then a lot of my reports come in. I use my reports. I went to lovable.com. By the way, it's an interesting website if you are not aware of it. Lovable.com is the lightest tool that you could use to build your own applications. It's a ChatGPT to build applications. So I went to lovable.com. I used the free version, and they created an application where I can upload my reports every month, and it gives me a summary and trajectory of where I'm growing and where I'm falling down. How is my trajectory looking like? So this is how I personally started using AI in my own health and wellness aspect of it. So this is the landscape. So you understood where we are right now. Now, with this landscape, what is the impact that can happen, especially for you in your business? Not in a good way, but in a bad way. The bottleneck for you is going to be when discovery is fast, delivery also should be. Right now, it might not be. So they are initially taking 10 years and 15 years to build a molecule, and you have enough time, ample time to set up your own production lines, machines, and everything else around it, but now you won't have that luxury anymore. So the entire top spectrum is going to go pretty fast. So now the bottom layer has to adopt and move as fast, if not faster. So that is going to be the immediate bottleneck for all of you, especially in the manufacturing space. Now, how do we solve this? What are the things to look for to actually solve this? That's where you need to look beyond LLMs. LLMs, yes, that will help them more than you, but there is something called world models. Not many people might have even heard of this term called world models because it is not present, it is future. The entire bet of Facebook and everyone, in fact, one of the godfathers of AI called Lee Kun, is all spending his time on building this world model. So what are these world models and how are they going to impact you? Take an example. Today, when you ask a ChatGPT or anything else to give you a sentence, you all know it is just predicting the next word, correct? So it is good at predicting words. Now believe me, in our entire human interaction, language is only 5% of our daily aspect of communication. Forget communication, daily aspect of whatever any human does. What about the rest of the 95%? We are looking, we are observing, we are maintaining, we are moving, we are acting, we are holding, we are figuring out things from the world as it is, not words. Take the same example, a cat. A cat is trying to jump from this table to that table. It went into its jump motion. Now it exactly can predict, okay, if I put so-and-so effort, I'll land in that direction. If I have to adjust my tail like this, I'll land there in a slightly deviation. So no one has trained this. There is no way to train it via voice. And that is where the world models come. So the world model's whole impact is, it can predict what will happen next in the world, the real world. Not the words, world. Now that's an amazing insight. This is exactly the real capability that humans have. Now if you bring this capability to a CC camera, what will happen? Right before an accident is about to happen, I get an alert. If you bring this capability to a robot, what will happen? If someone is coming, forget robot, this is much more easy to relate example. We all drive in Indian roads, and we all know when our friends from the international world come to our world, they're so spellbound of how you drive in this road. Because when someone is suddenly crossing the road, you know exactly to estimate where they're going to come, and then you navigate accordingly without slowing down. This is our human capability build. What is that we are going to give to models now? The same thing on a production line, a robot will understand something is going to crash, it will take a deviation and go by doing itself. So these world models are the future, and not very far, 3 to 4 years from now. Now, what are these world models going to be leveraged in, especially in your world? We call it the lights out factory. Recently, I did a podcast with someone who has set up the entire industrial engineering department for Apple, for iPhone production. And this gentleman was throwing amazing light into what is happening in China, what is happening in Taiwan, what is happening in the research centers of these Apple centers. And one of the important points he brought in is lights out automation. He took an example of a cigarette making factory in China, which is entirely run by 4 people with no lights in the factory. They just have a command room, they sit there, and everything does it automated. Now that is not future, that is already China. India still have advantage of people at low cost, but you all know it is not going to be there anymore like that. So we are all heading towards lights out automation. And for lights out automation, robotics is important, and for robotics, world models are important. And by the way, they're not coming in this order, they're all coming together. So in 3 years' time, believe me, if you're not ready by then, this is all gone. You'll again regret, like you're already regretting with ChatGPTs and AIs and etc. that people have already done so much already. So this is the future for you. Now, how can you work on it now? What can you do now? So I've created small material for you. I'll share this deck with you all. Probably you can start doing whatever is shown in this to immediately take advantage of this. So the first page is about making your MacBook your lab. So all your machines have to be now empowered. You don't need anything. I just have my machine here, that's it. This is my lab. From clinical trials to molecular biology to anything, this is still your lab. To do that, you need to be aware of certain tools, certain resources, certain people. Now what are they? Number 1, people to follow. These are some of the best people I would say you should start with. This is not the whole list. I would have a list of 120 people, but this is a list that you have to start with. So my world models, especially since it is something we are talking about, Jan LeCun, godfather of AI. Then there is Andrew Karpathy, who built the AI for Tesla and also is known in the world of Silicon Valley for something very special. Andrew Ng, he is the father of everything that we are seeing right now. He is the one who brought AI education to everyone. When Coursera launched, his was the first course. So he now created an open source platform because Coursera is not anymore free. So he created something called deeplearning.ai. If you have kids, if you want to learn, there are half-an-hour courses to 1-hour courses to 6-week courses there, free of cost. From the experts of each of these companies coming and teaching you there. So that's about deeplearning.ai. And then there are a bunch of others, but I would always look for, everyone knows Elon Musk for robots, but there is one gentleman who not many people know. That's Brett Addock from Figure AI. Right now, if someone is really automating the floor, that's Figure AI, not Elon Musk Optimus yet. So these are the people you should be aware of to start with. There is more, but you begin with this. Then, what tools to start with? I've classified your tool segment into 3. Number 1, you have to start running your systems on your laptops. To do that, you just need these simple three sets of tools. Download them, start playing with any model like Gemma I was talking about. You could install it after you go back home tonight and start playing with it. You just upload your data and then start playing with it. Then once you set up this system where you create your own private LLM for your own computer, then you go to the second level. Can I create those digital avatars? Can I create those digital replicas of us and our factories? We call them digital twins, you're all aware of it. But there is AI that you can leverage from digital twins angle too. And these are certain tools that you can begin with. Once you're done with all these two aspects, then we go to the most important aspect, how you use AI on a day-to-day basis. We all use ChatGPT as a separate tool. Not anymore. We should be now using AI browsers like Comet, Atlas. So these are actual AI browsers that you need to start using today. Anyway, Comet is free because you're all Airtel subscribers. If not, be a subscriber. Otherwise, you have all of the other things too. By the way, Jio is launching something with Google too now. And very soon, Google will launch its own AI browser, but it will take some time. So those are the browsers that you need to be using. You should be AI first from native thinking point of view. That means you have to use everything on such a browser. So start using those browsers. And there are certain deep insight tools where you have to create those workflows and etc. You can also leverage those other aspects. So that's very, very briefly where we are going, what is coming next, and what you should be doing now. Thank you.